Well, I am pleased to be joined now by Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Frank Thomas. Big Hurt, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
That was a pleasure to be with you, Travis. How's everything out there in Nebraska?
Oh, excellent, and just got a lot better.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I tell you what, well, before we get started talking baseball, let's talk about what made this interview possible. Talk about your partnership with Varelux. What is it, and what does it do for you?
Varelux is the world's #1 progressive lens provider. Number one lenses in the world. So for me, as a baseball player, I was 20/10 vision. I could see other things that guys couldn't see on the mound. I could see, the seams out of pitcher's hands. But once I retired around 45, I started looking at text messages and menus at restaurants and apps on phones. And like, man, everything's blurry. I thought something was really wrong. So I went to my eye care provider, to check my eyes, and the doctor told me that I had presbyopia. And I'm like, what? I thought something was seriously wrong. He said, take it easy. It's just it's a normal aging eye condition. And it really just comes down to old eyes. And he suggested progressive lenses for me that really changed my whole vision and aspect of things. Because for me, I've always had perfect vision. When something goes wrong like that, you start to wonder something wrong with your health. But aging eyes is very consistent with people over 40. So Varelux.com, check us out. And get to your eye care provider, because this could change your whole sight, your vision, and your life.
All right, well, let's get talking about baseball now. Let's look back at the 2021 season. One to remember as things kind of got back to normal. You had fans back in the stadiums. What are some of your favorite memories from this past season?
Well, I mean, it's obvious things that went on this year. Shohei Ohtani, starting pitcher, as dominant as it comes, and a hitter as dominant as it comes. We haven't seen that thing since the likes of Babe Ruth. None of us have seen it. They talk about, the legendary figure Babe Ruth, and you bring a guy in this year who has 45 home runs, basically 46 home runs, and he has a 9-1 record or a 10-2 record or something like that on the mound. But it's devastating stuff. It's just not cutty thumb. This guy is a dominant pitcher. So that's the biggest story so far. And then you look at guys like Fernando Tatis, Ronald Acuna Jr., was having an unbelievable year before he got hurt, and Vlad Guerrero, who's chasing a Triple Crown still as of today, and Savvy Perez, a catcher hitting 46 home runs. Big fan of Savvy. I said many years ago, I think this guy's going to be a playing Hall of Famer, and people thought I was crazy. That was in 2014. So big ups to Savvy Perez. You're going to have one heck of an AL MVP race, because any one of those three guys, in my mind, can win it.
Yeah, a lot of Royals fans around here are pretty excited about Perez. Specifically for you, I'd say one of your favorite moments had to be going to Iowa, right? What was that like?
It was amazing. Baseball got it right out there. Field of Dreams, I've been there many of times, doing charity events and everything else, knew the vision. And for those guys that come out the cornfields with Kevin Costner at night was just magical. And just to watch that whole thing up close with Fox TV, it was great. And just one of the best baseball games we've seen in a very long time. The world got to watch it. And the Yankees coming back late, and then I thought it was over, and my heart was in my chest. And then Tim Anderson hit a walk-off home run. It was a very magical night that night.
All right. Well, the Giants, they've been probably the biggest surprise of the season so far, and probably one of the front runners for the upcoming playoffs. What are the teams that you're looking forward to seeing here in the postseason, and what's your World Series prediction?
Well, you watched the Giants and the Dodgers go at it all year. I thought the Giants would falter just because they're not as loaded as the Dodgers. But sometimes, you put the right chemistry together, the right players, they can move mountains, and that's what the Giants have done this year, because no one thought they could go 6 straight months without having a bad couple of weeks, and they haven't. So, to watch the Dodgers and the Giants, I do think that the Dodgers overtake them in the National League later on, because at this point, the Giants got to be a little taxed, a little gas, but the Dodgers, they just have superstars at every position. But in the American League, you got Houston, you got the Chicago White Sox, you got whoever wins that American League East. We know it's going to be the Rays, but you still got the Yankees, Toronto, Boston still vying for that last 2 spots. But I do like my Chicago White Sox. I'm a little homer here, but they have the pitching, the starters and the bullpen to get through October, along with exciting cast of characters that can hit who are finally healthy together.
All right, let's look at you. Let's go back to little Frank Thomas. Growing up, who did you look up to? Who did you admire as a ball player, either football or baseball?
Well, growing up in Georgia, man, you got, the great Hank Aaron came through there. And that was my parents' hero, being out of South Georgia, and you got to break the home run record. So that's still with me the rest of my life. And But I was a big fan of Dave Winfield, Dale Murphy, Bob Horner. Those guys I got to see on a daily basis. Big Winnie because he was so big out in San Diego. But when he came in, I got to see him with my uncle up close. That was one of the biggest men I've ever seen, and now he's a friend of mine. So at the Hall of Fame. So it's one of those things, man. I dream big and follow those guys and want to be as good as those guys or better. So I was blessed, but I worked my tail off, and I'm really happy the ride I've had.
Well, what about while you were playing? Did you have a favorite player or players while you were playing?
No, not while I was playing.
Not while you were playing at all.
I'm not competing. I'm not
Okay.
competing. I'm trying to beat them.
So looking at the players now, you played with some big names though back then. What players
Right,
now? What players now could have matched up with the players that you played with back then?
I think baseball is in a great place right now. The young players are more prepared to play in the major leagues today like they weren't back in my day. Kids are playing travel ball now, starting at 9 and 10 years old. We didn't do that as kids. We barely had seasons. We were lucky to get 12 to 15 games in. These kids are playing 70-game seasons with travel ball and fall ball. So I got a 12-year-old right now who's playing so much baseball. He's well advanced than I was at 12 years old. So we'll see how all this stuff works out in the future. But I really think we're looking at a younger Major League Baseball here in the next 5 years, from the age of 18 to around 33. And I think you got to be a superior talent to play past 34 in the future.
All right, one final question for you. Let's look ahead to 2022. What teams and players are you looking forward to next season? I know a lot of people here in Nebraska are looking at Omaha, Bobby Witt Jr. going to Kansas City. What about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, they're still going to be a special team. They put together a good cast of characters this year. They've fallen a little short, but they were very competitive all season long. And sadly, with that big breakout year, they're going to be an interesting team to watch. But I still say you're going to watch the Chicago White Sox for years to come. They got all these young, great, talented stars, and they're all under contracts for 5 years. So that chemistry is only going to build, and they keep half of this pitching staff together. They're going to win a lot of baseball games.
All right. Well, Big Hurt, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk baseball with me. You were my favorite player growing up, and you're the reason I was a White Sox fan growing up too, and still the reason that I love baseball to this day. So this was an opportunity of a lifetime. I just appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Travis, thank you so much for having me on your show, Travis. And it's a pleasure, buddy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Big Hurt.